Hello, my name's Ava and I'm 29 years old. I always believed that my relationship with my mother-in-law Felicity was solid. From the moment I met her, she greeted me with a warm smile and I thought she genuinely cared for me. Little did I know, behind that facade of kindness, Felicity was brewing a sinister plan to drive a wedge between my husband Michael and I. Felicity was calling Michael every day while I was at work. At first, I didn't think much of it. After all, it was natural for a mother and son to stay in touch. But as time went on, I noticed a change in Michael's demeanor. He became distant, and sometimes he was just downright hateful towards me. I was obviously confused by this behavior, and so I confronted him one evening when we were alone. "Michael, is everything all right? You seem different lately." "Ugh, I'm fine, Ava. Just leave me alone." "That's what you want to do anyway, right?" "What are you talking about?" "Just answer me this. Do you want to take all of my money and leave me?" I was obviously shocked by his outlandish allegation. I was even offended. How could you accuse me of something so diabolical? Where are you even getting all of this? Have you lost your mind? I would never do something so horrid to you. Seeing my frustration and confusion, Michael sighed heavily. He sat down and put his head in his hands. He looked like he was clearly going through something. I'm so sorry I lashed out at you, Ava. It's just that, well, something has been going on and it's been messing with my head." "What's going on, babe? You know that we can get through anything as long as we work together." "I know, baby, which is why I think it's time I come clean, even though it's hard." "Okay, I'm listening." "Ava, I don't know how to say this, but my mom has been saying things about you." "Really? What things?" "Unfortunately, babe, they haven't been the nicest of things. It's really hard for me to say it. I know you love her, but you need to know that she's been bad-mouthing you on our calls." I was taken aback. How could Felicity, the woman I consider the second mother, be saying negative things about me? Stupidly, at the time, I didn't believe what my husband was telling me and I began to doubt him and his words. "Babe, are you sure you're not just misinterpreting what she's saying? You know, as women, there are certain things that we get that guys simply don't. Maybe it's just a communication breakdown." "Babe, I'm not stupid. I know when someone is speaking ill of someone else. This isn't some nuanced situation. The situation is pretty black and white from where I'm standing. My mother simply despises you." "How could you say that to me?" "Just earlier this week, Felicity and I spoke on the phone and she asked me about you. I told her all about how we're doing well and I told her of our plans to start that business we've always dreamed about." "That's funny because she told me today that you were planning on sabotaging our business plan so that everything would be under your name. And then you'd eventually run away with all the money." "What? That's crazy." "I know. She's been saying all sorts of crazy things, and I hate to admit it, but it started getting to me. I started believing her. Even though there was no solid proof, I started believing her words, and that's why I lashed out at you earlier. I'm so sorry." "She didn't say those things, did she?" "You seem to be adamant in not believing me, so let's do this instead. How about the next time she calls me, I will secretly add you onto the call so that you can listen in on every word that she says. I'll host a Zoom meeting conference call with you on my computer, and when she calls me, I'll put the phone on speaker so that you hear everything." "Fine, that sounds like a plan. I'll prove to you that Felicity doesn't speak about me that way." Well, folks, I hate to admit it, but it turns out that my husband was right. The very next day, as I left for work, and Michael was at home enjoying his downtime, he received a call from his mother. He did as was planned and added me on a conference call whilst he answered the phone from his mother. So I was silently listening in on everything, unbeknownst to her, and I found out some very appalling information. "Hello, my dear. How was your day?" "It was fine, Mom. How was yours?" "It was not good, Mike. I was too busy stressing and worrying about you and your predicament." "What predicament?" "The fact that you're married to a wicked woman. She doesn't love you, Michael. When are you going to understand that? How much more information do I have to feed you? As your mother, these things impact me as well, you know. The longer you stay with that woman, the more years are removed from my life due to stress." "Mom, please stop. I told you that I haven't been finding any evidence of that occurring, so please stop with your allegations." "So you're calling me a liar? You don't want to heed these wise words?" I'm just telling you the truth. She hates you. She's going to take all of your money and leave you if you're not careful." "Let me call you back, okay? Love you." "But wait, let me tell you more." Michael hung up the phone and unmuted me from the conference call. "Hello, Ava?" How could she talk about me like that? Has she lost her mind? "I know, it's a lot. I'm sorry you had to find out this way, but you needed to hear the truth for yourself." Wow, I have no words, honestly. She sounded like a completely different person. Nothing like the sweet lady who checked up on me from time to time. And now I know that she's only checking in to gather intel and twist it so that you believe her lies. My heart sank as I realized the depth of Felicity's deceit. The person I thought was my ally, my supporter, was working against me. Michael reassured me that he no longer believed her words after our conversation the previous night. That woman is crazy. I almost got caught in her lies, and I trusted and believed her. I get you, babe. I'm sure that realizing her lies and deception wasn't easy, seeing as you're her son and all. I'm more angry if anything. I don't know what she's trying to get at by speaking ill of you so harshly and so often. But at least you know for yourself that this is happening. She's lost it. Yep, we need to confront her about everything. Yes, of course, but not just yet. What do you mean? I'd like to listen in on more phone calls, please. Michael was surprised at this request. He thought that we could just confront her from this one conversation. But if I knew anything about master manipulators, it's that they severely enjoy toying with people's memories and rationality. If we confronted her too soon, she could potentially try and gaslight us into believing that we took her words out of context. As much as it hurt to hear her awful words and accusations, I needed to gather more information. And I needed to record it so that I had concrete and sufficient evidence of her degrading me in my arsenal for when I finally approached her. The next day, the same thing would happen. Michael would add me onto the call, as was planned. And this would be repeated and repeated for approximately 2 more weeks. I would join the call. Concealed, and Felicity, unaware of my presence, began her usual routine of belittling and falsely accusing me. As much as I was getting used to her lies and deception, I was still somehow astonished at the many ways that she was able to twist innocent moments we shared in the past into something negative, painting me as the villain and attacking my character. With each phone call and secret conference call, the anger and determination to seek revenge grew within me. I knew that Felicity's actions needed to be exposed, not just for myself, but also to protect other innocent individuals who might fall prey to her manipulations. These recorded conversations were no longer only for my benefit, but for the benefit of all who needed it. They became pieces of a puzzle that would unveil Felicity's true nature eventually. As I prepared to face Felicity head-on, I knew that the road ahead wouldn't be easy. Confronting a family member, especially one who had deceived us, was certainly not going to be easy, but I was just grateful that Michael would support and comfort me after those horrid lies she would spew. As I mentioned, I had endured this facade for a couple of weeks now, and I was sick of enduring the constant backbiting from my mother-in-law. It was time to take action. One evening, Michael and I sat in our living room, devising a plan on how we would approach this. Just as we were about to talk about our strategy, the shrill sound of my phone interrupted us. It was Felicity calling, and she was calling me. It must have been one of her occasional check-ins, but after finding out what I found out, I was ready to pounce on her then and there. "Wait, babe. I know you want to do this now, but maybe we're better off holding off for a second." "What? Why?" "Well, for starters, we don't know why she's calling. She might be calling to come clean for all we know." "Fat chance." "But a chance nonetheless. Please, at least hear her out. And if this call ends without her coming clean and apologizing, then we'll get that vengeance. In any way you see fit, no questions asked." Ugh. She's still my mom, babe. I don't know. I guess part of me's hoping that she's come to her senses and that she'll change. I just need to know for sure. Seeing Michael saddened by his mother's actions cut me deep to the core. I didn't take the time to properly address how this might be affecting him as well. I was so stuck in my own emotions, but I didn't consider him. Finding out that your mother is a terrible person is certainly a heavy burden to carry, so I felt like I had to at least try and be civil during this phone call, just to satisfy this curiosity he had. "Fine, I won't confront her about it just yet." "Atta girl." I sighed and I answered the call, my voice guarded but firm. "Hello?" "Hello, my dear. How are you?" The similar facade of her sweet voice made me seethe with anger. I knew the truth now, and it took all my strength to respond without lashing out. "I'm fine, Felicity. How are you?" Felicity seemed taken aback by the hostility in my tone, but I wasn't going to let her play her games anymore. As much as we weren't ready to confront her with the truth just yet, I couldn't help but drop subtle hints. I wanted to toy with her, ever so slightly, so that she knew something was up and that her deceit was coming to light. "Oh, darling, are you sure you're fine? You sound so angry." "I suppose I am a bit angry, Felicity. You see, I've uncovered some shocking news recently." "What news, dear?" "Well, it turns out that somebody has been slandering my name." "Oh, that's very interesting." "Yes, it's very interesting indeed, and this person is doing it for no apparent reason, just trying to tarnish my name and my image. Maybe they're jealous of me or something." "Oh dear, how awful." "Yeah, Felicity, have you ever met a person like that? So cruel for no reason." I think we need to continue this conversation tomorrow, dear. I'm so sorry, but I've just gotten really tired out of nowhere. I'm so sorry. Please excuse me. Let's talk tomorrow." Before I could even respond, she hung up the phone. Not 5 seconds later, Michael got a notification on his phone. It was a text from Felicity. It read, "Got another update on your slimy wife. Someone has been talking about her. Turns out I'm not the only person who thinks she's garbage. I'm telling you, get out of there while you still can. I'll call you tomorrow while she's at work to tell you the full story." Michael and I were sufficiently disappointed and shocked that she would continue to lie like this. Michael was visibly upset. This appeared to be the final nail in the coffin. I'm sure that his hearing how fake she was with me just dispelled his doubts and confirmed what he knew deep down all along. And now he appeared ready for battle. "We need to take her down, How can she be so two-faced? She probably went to bed so that she can make up a story about me to tell you tomorrow. She's sick. I don't care that she's my mother. She's in the wrong and she needs to pay for hurting you and me. Although this terrible circumstance sought to destroy us, ironically enough, Michael and I bonded over this strange and hurtful situation. Our love for each other had strengthened, and we spent the rest of the night comforting each other. The next day came around, and my goodness, it was certainly one to behold. I went to work as usual, but this time with a pep in my step, knowing what was about to go down later on. I was ready to take this lady down. Michael called me eventually, and I knew that it was go time. As usual, he added me to the conference call whilst his mother was on a regular phone call with him. She didn't hesitate to start gossiping about me once they said their pleasantries. And you wouldn't believe what she told me. She said that people all around her are talking about her and her schemes. Oh, what have they been saying? Well, she told me that people have been accusing her of embezzling funds and bribing officials to get what she wants. She knows that people are onto her now. She was practically begging me to console her yesterday. I played along, of course, but I know deep down that those rumors are true. Oh, really? Is that how you recall our conversation from last night? Because I don't remember saying or doing any of those things at all. Felicity appeared to have choked on whatever beverage she was drinking. She wasn't expecting to hear my voice. She must have thought that she was going crazy. Don't worry, Felicity. You're not imagining things. I'm here on a conference call with Michael. I've been listening in on your conversations for the past 2 weeks now. Ava, how did you, but I believe that I haven't properly given you my salutations. So, hi, Felicity. Ava, whatever you heard, I can assure you that you didn't hear it correctly. Let me explain. I chuckled bitterly, refusing to let her try and twist the narrative, just as I had suspected. Oh, please, don't insult my intelligence, Felicity. The charade is over. I know the games you've been playing, the lies you've been feeding Michael. But guess what? We're done being your pawns. I can't believe that you'd be so cruel and manipulative for no reason, Ma. What drove you to do such a terrible thing? Oh, so you think you're better than me now, Michael? You think that you're a Superman or something, trying to save the day? I didn't do anything wrong. I was just telling you some hypothetical situations. It's not my fault that you two misconstrued everything. You're so pathetic. Even after being caught, you try and cover your tracks so sloppily like this? Not to worry, because I've recorded everything that you've said. So let me jog your memory a bit. I proceeded to play some of the audio recordings I took throughout the weeks. Recalling those cruel moments sent chills down my spine, but I was sure that Felicity was sweating bullets. She kept on stammering and trying to speak over the recordings, again trying to cover her tracks, but she did such a terrible job of defending herself, especially with the irrefutable evidence that was presented before her. Finally, once she understood that the jig was up, she came clean. Well, guess what, Ava? I don't care that you found out the truth. So what? What are you going to do? We all know that you're bad for my son. Bad for him? In what way exactly? I don't know. You're hiding something. I can feel it. Even though I didn't get any evidence, I can just tell that you're a slimy and you're bad for my son. I'm going to expose you for just how evil you truly are, you old wench. How dare you? Once I tell everyone in the family about this, they're going to be on my side, not yours. Nobody's going to believe an outsider like you, Ava. See, you're wrong again, Felicity, because what you failed to realize, even after I told you earlier in the call, is that I'm recording this conversation too. What? Yep. When will you learn? Not only are we recording this conversation, but we're also recording the conversation you had with Ava last night. And we took screenshots of the text you sent me. You're going down, Ma. I hate to admit that I've got an evil witch for a mother, but I'm tired of making excuses for you and hoping that you'd change. Baby, Ava, let's talk about this. This information doesn't need to go anywhere. Look, I'll apologize, all right? Just delete those recordings. As a matter of fact, let me come over right now. Ava, you're finishing your shift soon, right? Let's all talk about this over a lovely cup of tea and... Save it, Felicity. Your attempts at cleaning up your very damning mess are sloppy at best. Have you no shame or dignity? It's far too late to try and smooth things over now, especially only after you got caught. Who knows how long you would have tried to keep this up if we didn't confront you about it today? We're going to tell everyone about this, and there's nothing you can do about it. And if I didn't make it clear enough, I no longer want to be in contact with you, Mom. I'm sorry, but I can't afford to be around your negative energy anymore. As was dutifully promised and mentioned in the call, Michael and I exposed Felicity on various family group chats, warning our cousins, aunties, and uncles of her manipulative tactics. Out of fear and embarrassment, she would leave the family groups, but we would add her back so that she would face her all this full on. Everyone in the group chat was certainly disappointed and appalled at her crude and childish behavior. Everyone in the group chats unanimously agreed that she needed to be dealt with by being excommunicated, at least for a brief time, so that she could truly work on some character development. She would call Michael and me, begging us to stop exposing her, as her character was being tarnished and decimated completely. But we would not relent. We would always remind her that she made her bed, and now she had to lay in it. After exposing her, a sense of satisfaction washed over me. Felicity's power over us had finally diminished, and we were taking back control of our lives. I bet she won't try and do that to anyone ever again.
Hello guys, my name is Blair. I'm actually a lurker in these stories, but I never thought I would have one of my own. I don't think any of us have ever imagined ourselves in this situation, but you never know what fate has in store for you. This is exactly what happened to me. My husband, Howard, was the best partner I could ask for. He was caring and had a very good reputation among his peers. We met at a work event and hit it off immediately. Howard and I had a lot of common interests, which drew us closer. We dated for about 5 years before deciding to tie the knot. Frankly speaking, he was my best friend. I couldn't imagine my life without him. One thing that I must mention is the fact that he was very close to his mother. His dad passed away when he was young, so it was always his mom and him. His mother, Miranda, was actually speech impaired and couldn't speak, but she was a very kind woman. At least that's what I thought. In our very first meeting, she was quick to sing praises of me. We communicated through texts since I didn't know sign language. She said, "I'm so glad to finally meet you, Blair. You have no idea how excited I am. Howard always speaks praises of you, and I can see why. You are an amazing woman." "I'm very flattered, Miranda. I'm glad you like me, and we are going to have a great relationship. I lost my mother 10 years back, and you feel a lot like her." "Blair, I do have a feeling that we will be very close. I always wanted a daughter, and it looks like I finally have one." Indeed, Miranda and I had a great bond. We spend a lot of time together, even without Howard. While I was pretty well off, Howard and Miranda were not as much. So I tried to help them out as often as possible. I seriously felt a lot of love towards them, so it all made sense to me. They quickly became my family other than my sister, Erin. For some reason, Erin was a little weary of them. However, she could see that I was happy, so she didn't say anything about them. Howard's reaction to Erin getting her inheritance has some part to play. When Erin and her husband suddenly purchased a new house and 2 new cars, he was pretty shocked about it. Howard said, "Wow, Erin, you did splurge on your car and house. I had no idea your job paid so much money." "It wasn't my job, Howard. We came into some money very recently, so we decided to change our lifestyle a bit." "Are you sure it's not something illegal? I mean, normal people like us do have to work hard to have this kind of lifestyle. Hell, most of us can just dream about it." "There is nothing illegal going on, Howard. She just got the rest of her inheritance from our parents. It was in a trust fund until she turned 30. "Really, Blair? Wow, that must be very convenient. Do you have a trust fund like that?" "I do, actually. We were given the house straight away, but the rest is put in a fund until we turn 30. I will get mine once I turn 30 as well." "Oh my God, we will be so rich. I guess I won't have to work anymore. You can just pay for us. I wish you could get it sooner. It would have been so much better." Erin looked really uncomfortable at his words. Even I felt like his words were a little off. Still, we laughed about the situation and let it go. Ever since then, Howard had intentionally made me pay more towards dates and gifts. He even told me to buy Miranda expensive gifts since I had the money. He was constantly making plans of living a luxurious life and not working again. Despite all these red flags, I chose to ignore him. My sister scolded me about revealing my inheritance like that. She said, "Blair, you should have thought better. You know the reason our parents didn't give us the money straight away. They wanted to protect us from getting tricked." "Relax, Erin. It's just Howard. I told about the inheritance. He's my boyfriend. We're talking about getting engaged soon. He would have known eventually." "You saw how he reacted to the news. You could have waited, Blair. How are you sure he won't marry you for money? He has always regarded you as an ATM anyway." "Come on, Erin. It's not like that. Howard loves me and I love him too. I don't mind spending money on him. He isn't forcing me to give him money. Don't worry, it's not a problem." Sometimes I wish I had listened to Erin. I was so busy defending Howard that I ignored her words. I overlooked all the red flags and decided to be with him. People make mistakes, and I ended up making a big one. I was stupid and desperately wanted a family. Howard and his mom were perfect for my dream family. They loved me and I loved them as well. So I was instead blown away by their affection and love. Fast forward a year. Howard proposed to me and I said yes. We were already planning to move into the house I inherited from my parents. Since Howard didn't have a house of his own, it was decided that he would live with me. But as the wedding drew near, he started to act a little off. When I asked him about his problems, he said, "Blair, there's something that you need to know about. Mom's lease is about to expire in a few months. After we get married, I will have to live with you. Would you mind if she moves in permanently? You know she can't speak, and I don't like her being alone and vulnerable." "I can understand your situation, Howard. Miranda can absolutely move in with us. I like her a lot, and she seems very sweet. Since she is like a mother to me, I don't mind it at all." "Thank you so much, Blair. You have no idea how relieved I feel. I was really scared to leave Mom alone. It gives me nightmares to think she's without help. Frankly speaking, I never thought living with Miranda would be a problem. She was a pretty chill woman, and as I've said before, she loves me a lot. So I thought I wouldn't have any problems. Thinking about it now, I don't know if her moving in with us was an advantage for me or not. After I and Howard got married, Miranda ended her lease and moved in with us. My house had 4 bedrooms, so space wasn't an issue at all. We all had our privacy and even some extra space for guests. Together, I thought I had a very happy family. I never considered Miranda as a mother-in-law. I always considered her like my own mom. After years of being without a mom, it finally felt like I had everything in the world. Erin, on the other hand, wasn't so convinced about my happiness. When I visited her alone, she used to warn me about Miranda and Howard. She always said, "Sis, I know that you're very happy right now, but I think you should be careful. There are a lot of warning signs around you. You seem to not notice them at all." "What do you mean, Erin? I don't understand what you're talking about." "Look, I can see that you love Miranda and Howard, but you might be getting a little carried away. When you are not looking, I have seen Miranda make faces at you. Even Howard supports her and laughs. I might not understand sign language, but body language also tells a lot." "You might be a little mistaken, Erin. Howard and Miranda are genuinely nice people. Yes, they may not be from our economic background, but they're still good people." "I don't know, Blair. I don't mind their economic status, but something seems really fishy. I just want you to be careful. Why don't you learn sign language? That way you won't be excluded from their conversations." "That's a great idea, Erin. You know what? Her birthday's coming up next month. I'm sure I can learn some basic sign language by then. It will be a good surprise for her." Then and there, I promised myself that I would learn sign language. Miranda and Howard communicated in sign language pretty frequently. I was starting to feel left out, so I thought learning it would be a great idea. I did plan to live with them forever, plus it's always a good idea to learn ASL. With that in mind, I began to learn sign language. I didn't even tell Howard because I wanted it to be a surprise. I think that learning the language really saved me. About 2 weeks before Miranda's birthday, I accidentally caught Miranda and Howard having a conversation in ASL. I was going to call them for dinner, but was instead greeted by a very strange conversation. By then, I had already learned a good bit of sign language, so I had no doubt what they were talking about. Miranda said, "I am glad Blair doesn't know sign language. That stupid brat is so annoying. If only she knew what we think of her. God, I'm tired of acting nice to her. When will this torture end?" "It won't be long, Mom. Just wait for 1 year. As soon as she gets her inheritance, we can claim half of it. I will try to trick her into signing it for me." "I doubt she would be convinced that easily. She's not as stupid as we think. That girl is a freaking witch." "Don't worry, Mom. If she doesn't sign it away, I will divorce her. Then she'll be forced to give me half of her inheritance. I'm planning to quit my job 2 months before she turns 30. That way, she will be giving me alimony as well." "That's a great idea, Howard. I do have a clever son. After we get our hands on Blair's money, we will finally get rid of her. Then we can say good riddance to this worthless woman." "It will be good riddance. Maybe with that money, we'll finally buy that house you've been eyeing for a while. I bet we will still have leftovers." I was shocked to see what they were saying. Here I was trying to learn sign language so that I can develop a better bond with my in-laws. Instead, I just discovered that my husband and mother-in-law planned to steal my inheritance. My whole life felt like a lie. I was mentally beating myself up for falling to such a horrible man. Hell, I also hated myself for telling him about my inheritance. I couldn't hold my ears, but didn't want them to see me crying. They hadn't noticed my presence yet, so I quickly took my phone and went to my sister's place. When I reached her place, she was kind of shocked to see me in such a condition. At that point, I started to cry on her front porch. She brought me in and calmed me down. After I was done crying, she said, "My God, sis, what happened to you? Why are you crying like this? Tell me what happened immediately." "Erin, you were right about Miranda and Howard. They are not good people. All this while, they have been plotting to take my inheritance. Howard only married me for money. Erin, even Miranda hates me." "Are you serious? Right now? How did you know all this?" "I saw them speaking ASL today. Now that I know the language, I could make out what they were saying. I went on to tell Erin what Miranda and Howard talked about. Retelling everything again sent me into a crying fit that took time to subside. But the second round of crying brought a lot of clarity to my head. I was immediately planning to get back at them. Erin said, "I hope you're not thinking about letting them go just like that. Don't tell me you will continue this marriage. I'll be disappointed in you." "No, Erin, there is no way I will stay married to that scum. And I don't plan on letting them get away with everything. They think I'm a worthless and powerless woman. I'll show them just how clever I can be." "That's my sister. Do you have a plan, Blair? I promise I will help." "Yes, I'm going to throw a big birthday party for Miranda. Then I will reveal her true face to everyone. Howard is also going down with her. I will make sure of it." A plan was already forming in my mind. All I had to do was work around the details and exit it perfectly. My sister Erin was also a huge help during this time. Her husband is a cop, and she promised to be on standby if things escalated or went south. I was so disillusioned by them that I was ready to face anything. I did tell them that I was arranging something. I texted Miranda. "Hey, Miranda, you know that your 60th birthday is only a few days away. I'm so excited and I want to plan a big party for you. It's a gift from me, actually." "Oh, really, Blair? That is so sweet. I don't know what I have done to deserve such a sweet daughter-in-law." "It's nothing, Miranda. You deserve the party I'm planning. Why don't you send me a list of invites so that I can make sure everyone you love is invited?" "That's a great idea, Blair. I do want my friends and family members to come. It is a milestone birthday anyway. I'll send over a list from my side." She did send me a rather long list of invites. It looks like she did have some good plans to mooch off me. She invited freaking 50 people. Even Howard invited 20 of his friends and colleagues for some reason. His excuse was that I could afford it. I was slowly starting to see just how much they took advantage of me. I was prepared. I was also collecting some awesome videos through our security cameras. On the day of the party, every guest we invited showed up. Both Miranda and Howard were very happy. Me and Erin were happy as well, but for other reasons. I had some really important papers in my bag and things would get interesting real soon. After the cake was cut, I decided to make a speech. I said, "Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so glad you could show up to our party today. Thank you for taking time from your busy schedules to celebrate Miranda's birthday today. Since everyone is already here, I would like to give Miranda my special gift." "You got a special gift for Mom on top of everything? That's so nice." "It sure is, Howard. Why don't we find out what my gift is?" I quickly faced Miranda and Howard and signed to them something. I simply signed, "I know your plans about my inheritance. Now, watch me destroy your reputation in front of everyone. This is my gift to you, Miranda. Howard will get one as well." After I signed with them, the two of them looked shocked. They looked around and could see that some people could figure out what I said. Most of Miranda's friends knew sign language, so they could make out what I said. Miranda and Howard quickly signed to beg me to stop. I smirked and started to say and sign. "So, guys, last month I decided to learn ASL to surprise my mother-in-law. I had good intentions and only wanted to develop a deeper relationship with her. But when I learned the language, I found something shocking. Here, watch this video play in the background." "Blair, please stop. We can talk about this. You don't have to show and tell people. Please listen to me." "You can't insult me like this, Blair. Our reputation will be destroyed. Don't do this." I paid them no heed. The video played and people saw just how horrible Howard and Miranda were. I recorded them having some very mean conversations about me. They called me a spoiled brat, a worthless witch, among many more. They also discussed more on how they would steal my inheritance. People who knew ASL were horrified by the video. People who didn't know ASL were provided with subtitles that I made myself. It was glorious. When the video ended playing, everyone looked pretty pissed by what they saw. Howard and Miranda had a habit of acting nice to people, so they were really mad to see this side of them. I then took the opportunity to say, "Now that you have received your special gift, there are 2 more things waiting for you: divorce and eviction papers. I expect your things to be out of my house within a month. And Howard, we are done. You can't do this to us. You can't divorce me and kick us out. This is all a misunderstanding." Yes, we were just joking around. Don't be so rash with your decisions. We can talk this out. I will apologize, and so will Howard. You have already spoiled our reputation. Is that not enough? No, that is not enough. You wanted to take away everything from me. Today, I will take everything from you. Just wait and watch. Saying that, I gave them the legal papers and went inside the house. My sister Erin apologized to the guests on behalf of me and asked them to enjoy the rest of the party. They actually started to berate my husband and mother-in-law. My husband's colleagues gave him dirty looks while Miranda's friends literally just left. One of them also said that they would never speak to her again. Erin told me everything later. She also stayed back with me to make sure the duo didn't try anything stupid. As the days passed, Miranda and Howard were shunned by everyone. We live in a small town and the community is pretty close-knit. People here don't like backstabbing witches and lying scums. So Miranda and Howard's antics were not welcome here. Everyone avoided them to save their own reputation as well. Howard was actually finding it difficult to work at his job. They begged me to change my mind and let them stay. Howard was the one who did the most begging. He promised to love me and change his ways. Surprisingly, he even offered to kick his mother out. That made me laugh, but Miranda didn't find it so amusing. By the end of the month, Howard and Miranda were having full-blown fights in ASL. It was rather fun to watch. Howard believed that I would have stayed with him if Miranda had left the house. Miranda was offended that he would think of abandoning her. I guess the two saw that a good catch like me was getting away. Anyway, the eviction month was up and I had to call the police to get them out. No relative was willing to take them in, so they had to take a hotel. After a week, Howard quit his job and moved away. They couldn't bear the constant stink eyes and jabs of people. A relative far away took them in for a month, but not more. They tried to beg me again, but I refused to house them. Howard then signed the divorce papers because he no longer had the money for a lawyer. So our divorce was finalized soon. Now they are struggling to get by while I am enjoying my newfound inheritance all by myself. Hello everyone, my name is Sage. I saw some stories like these pop up on my feed and I thought I should share my own. I have been going through a lot and talking about it helps. This story is about my crazy mother-in-law, Sydney, who was out of my life. I'm still not sure if she wanted to end me or simply wanted me out of her life. Here's what happened to me and my family. I have been married to my husband, Nigel, for about 3 years. So far, we have had a pretty good relationship and a happy marriage. But things got bad when his mother came to live with us. For years, Nigel was kind of in no contact with Sydney. He said, "You know why I don't keep in touch with Mom? She has been pretty abusive to Melissa since our childhood. She had a weird obsession with having sons, so she sort of neglected Melissa." "Are you serious? What happened? Melissa is such a sweet girl. Why would your mom neglect her?" "Because she is a girl. All our lives, Mom has been obsessing over me. She had us taken away and placed with Dad when I was 10. She let Melissa starve for 2 days because her mom thought she was being an attention seeker for not eating dairy. Turns out she was intolerant to it and it gave her tummy ache. Mom refused to believe her and punished her like that. That's horrible. Didn't she take her to a doctor? The doctor would have explained it to her. Mom isn't like that, Sage. She cared a lot about me, but never about Melissa. She didn't want to waste her money on taking her to the doctor. At first, I couldn't understand why we couldn't see Mom. Later, I realized just how toxic and abusive she was. Yes, that's my mother-in-law for you guys. She is a truly horrible woman, and I didn't know it until she came to live with us. She had lost her job and spent all her money on pyramid schemes. So she got in touch with Nigel and begged for help. Nigel initially refused because of horrible past experiences, but his extended family pressured him into giving her a chance. So we jointly decided to give it a shot. Guys, Sydney was a nightmare to deal with. As soon as she met me, she had some horrible things to say about me. She said, "I can't believe my son married a loser like you. If I was in his life, he wouldn't have married you. I see that he made a big mistake." What do you even mean, Sydney? Nigel loves me and I love him. How the hell did he make a mistake by marrying me? We're happy together. He caters to you too much. He should be looking out for me more than you. You are weak and useless anyway. I can see how you manipulate him all the time, and you can't pull that shit with me. I know girls like you very well. What my dear mother-in-law had been talking about was how Nigel made sure nothing we ate had any nuts in them. Yes, I'm allergic to nuts, and Sydney has been informed. Still, she thought that I was lying for attention from Nigel. It was bizarre, especially because she had no idea that Nigel himself was allergic to nuts. Living with her made me realize just why Nigel never reached out to her. She criticized my cooking all the time and even hinted that I was a lazy bum. Mind you, I worked a good job and took care of the house with Nigel. Yet Sydney always had a problem with me. She complained that I took too much of Nigel's time and money. After tolerating Sydney's insults for months, I talked with Nigel. I was starting to get very irked by her behavior. I said, "Nigel, we need to do something about your mom. She's getting on my nerves constantly. You've seen how she talks to me. This is ridiculous." "I know, Sage, but what do you want me to do? You know she's like that. I really can't do anything about it. We have to adjust. She has no money. I cannot just kick her out." "But she's crossing our boundaries constantly. She doesn't even acknowledge me when you're around. Hell, she even interrupts our private time and takes you away to vent." "Look, I can understand your problems, but she is my mom. I do want to try and have some kind of relationship with her. She's old and needs a little help. You need to adjust with her a little, at least for my sake." Nigel's words did hurt, but I also understood her perspective. Both Nigel and Melissa were trying to have a relationship with Sydney. Their dad had passed years back, so they were desperate to have a connection with their only parent now. While Sydney was being attentive to Nigel, she was extremely rude to Melissa and me. Still, we continued to try and have a relationship with her. But Sydney never improved her stance towards me. She even tried to hurt me once. One day, I caught her sneaking peanuts into my milkshake. I confronted her. "What the hell, Sydney? Why were you adding peanuts to my milkshake? Who told you to touch my food? I'm allergic to peanuts. Why would you do that?" "Oh, cut the crap, Sage. Some peanuts won't kill you. Allergies are not real. You're just using this as an excuse to get attention from Nigel. I see how he fawns over you and makes sure you don't eat peanuts." "That's because I'm freaking allergic to it. How many times do I have to tell you? You could have killed me if I hadn't caught you." "Please, Sage, don't give me the drama. You are acting like a child. Peanuts won't kill you. Your acting and attention-seeking ways can't keep my son for long, you know. She said it like I was intentionally using my medical problems to trap my husband. I knew that she wanted Nigel all to herself. I was being a problem to her. I should have gone to Nigel about this situation, but I didn't. Again, I knew he was desperate about having his mom in his life. I didn't want to spoil it, so I kept quiet. Little did I know that Sydney never planned to stop. Months passed and Sydney kept purposefully trying to bait me into fighting with her. When I did take the bait, she ran to Nigel to complain about my behavior. Nigel then would proceed to berate me. I and Nigel fought a lot because he wanted me to keep giving her chances, but I was reaching the end of my wits. Turns out I didn't have to do anything to teach Sydney a lesson. It was Melissa's wedding in a few months that did the trick. Sydney was invited because Melissa wanted at least one parent on her side. She was trying her best to include her mom in her wedding. But Sydney had other plans for the wedding. During the reception, she was overly excited to take care of the food. She said, "Melissa, I think I should go check on the food. Make sure everything's fine. The dinner will begin soon." "Oh, you don't need to do that, Mom. I will personally go and check everything myself. I want to make sure everything has been done according to my directions." "Oh, dear Melissa, you don't have to worry about food. You are the bride and shouldn't worry about these things. I can do that myself. I'll make sure everything has been arranged well. It won't be a problem." "Not all the food is for everyone, Sydney. Some of us have allergies and only Melissa just wants to make sure we get our designated plates. You don't know about these arrangements that well." "Yeah, Mom, this is some serious stuff. I think you should stay away from the food. I will go and check them myself. I don't want anyone to get sick or worse." Sydney tried very hard to make Melissa give her the responsibility for food, but she refused every time. Slowly, I could see Sydney getting very frustrated. It was mind-boggling that she was so concerned about the food. I mean, she didn't even like her daughter that much anyway. I could smell something fishy. I have no idea why my instincts were screaming, so I decided to keep an eye on her. Lo and behold, I saw Sydney sneak into the kitchen area to where the plates had been arranged. Melissa had already checked the plates, so Sydney had no reason to be there. Back then, I should have followed her and made sure she didn't do something stupid, but I gave her the benefit of the doubt. I returned to my seat and sat down for the dinner service to begin. The food came out and I saw that my and Nigel's plates were just like everyone else. I knew Melissa had prepared a separate dish for us. I was confused and didn't eat immediately, but I saw that Nigel had already started to eat before I could stop him. It took him 2 minutes to react to the dish. His throat was swelling and he looked panicked. Melissa screamed, "Oh my God! Nigel, what's happening? You look red and your throat is swelling. What is wrong?" "I think he's having an allergic reaction. There must be some mistake with our dishes. He ate some and is reacting." "Oh my God, what the hell was he eating? Sage, you and Nigel should have got different dishes. These dishes were not allergy friendly. What do we do now?" "I have an EpiPen in my bag. I will use this on him now. Please call an ambulance. We still need to go to the hospital. He might have some serious health complications." I rushed to use the EpiPen while Melissa called 911. Everyone was shocked and Sydney came crying to us. She was hysterical and couldn't understand what was going on. She said, "What is happening to my poor baby? Why is he reacting this way?" "He ate something he was allergic to, Sydney." But only you were supposed to have an allergy. You were fine. How is he in pain? It should have been you." "Because I didn't eat many dishes, Sydney. Nigel ate it before I could stop him." "Wait a minute. Did you know that our dishes were wrong?" Sydney looked pale and suddenly started to cry very loudly. She just sat down and cried. Some people heard our conversations and could make out what happened. Even I understood that Sydney had swapped the dishes to test my allergies. I was furious, but before I could do anything, I had to take care of my husband. Nigel was rushed to the hospital and we waited for the doctor to give him the clear. Thankfully, Nigel was fine. He was supposed to be admitted for a day for observation. Nigel was slightly traumatized but slowly recovering. Me, Melissa, her husband, and Sydney were all present. When Nigel woke up, he said, "How did I end up in the hospital? Damn, I remember my throat closing up. Did I eat something that had nuts?" "I'm so sorry, Nigel. I checked your plate later. You were not supposed to have those dishes. I ordered a special dish for you and Sage because you can't have nuts. I have no idea how you two got the wrong plates. Thank God Sage didn't eat it as well. I'm so sorry, guys." "Sis, this is not your fault. You were so far away from the table. You had no way of knowing that we got the wrong dish. I'm so sorry your wedding got affected." "But you landed in the hospital. I will never forgive myself for putting you in the hospital. I feel horrible. Please forgive me, Nigel and Sage." Melissa was crying hysterically while I, Nigel, and her husband tried to calm her down. Sydney was just standing in the corner looking agitated. Seeing Nigel in the hospital bed and Melissa blaming herself for it, I couldn't hold my anger anymore. I knew that Sydney wanted to hurt me and prove me to be a liar. What she ended up doing was horrible and I wasn't going to forgive her. So I decided to expose her. I said, "Melissa, you need to stop blaming yourself for everything. This is not your fault. This is not even your caterer's fault." "What do you mean, Sage? Of course this is our fault. We messed up big time. I hate myself." "No, Melissa, you didn't mess up. The caterers had arranged all the dishes exactly like you asked. It was Sydney who swapped all the plates." "What? Are you serious? Why would Mom do that? I specifically told her not to do anything. Even you told her to stay away." "Sage, why would Mom do this on purpose? She doesn't even know that I'm allergic to nuts. You know I developed it when I was in college." "No, Nigel. Sydney doesn't know you have a nut allergy. She did this to test me and my nut allergy. I saw her go into the kitchen after Melissa checked everything. She must have swapped the plates. Turns out it backfired on her and you ended up getting sick." "Wait, you're telling me that Mom is responsible for destroying my wedding and putting Nigel in hospital? And all this to test your allergies? This is insane. Mom, did you do this?" "Mom, is this true? Did you swap the plates at Melissa's wedding? Why the hell would you do that?" "Those are all lies. You shouldn't believe that witch's word. Nigel, she just wants to take you away from me. She hates me because I call her out on her tricks. You shouldn't believe her." "Well, there are security cameras in the kitchen. Why don't we go and watch those tapes? I'm sure the venue authorities would cooperate." At this point, Sydney started to hyperventilate again. She begged us not to watch the tapes while still claiming that she didn't do anything. Nigel and Melissa saw right through her actions. Even Melissa's husband was pissed. And meanwhile, I got the CCTV tapes from the kitchen in my mail. On our way to the hospital, I asked Melissa to contact the venue and ask for the tapes to see what went wrong. They had finally emailed me the tapes. I took out my phone and played a video in front of everyone. They were shocked to see Sydney swapping the plates in the kitchen. Nigel and Melissa both started to yell at Sydney and demand answers. Melissa said, "Mom, how could you do this to us? Not only did you spoil my wedding, but also hurt Nigel. Do you have no shame? You could have killed Nigel and Sage with your malice. You are freaking crazy. Don't blame me, Melissa. No one cares about your stupid wedding anyway. I knew Sage as being an attention-seeking witch with her allergies. I just wanted to show Nigel and everyone that she is a liar. Nigel was not supposed to be hurt. Mom, are you justifying your actions like that? Does Sage's life mean so little to you that you thought it was okay to test her allergies? How dare you try to hurt my wife like that? How dare you spoil Melissa's wedding and then tell her that it doesn't matter? This is all a misunderstanding, Nigel. Melissa and Sage are just blowing this out of proportion. I'm sure Sage is not allergic to nuts. She is focusing on me so that you don't find out about her manipulative ways. She wants me out of the house, so she's using this incident to shame me. By then, everyone else was fuming with anger. I was ready to jump down on her throat and throttle her, but I needed Nigel and Melissa to do something about it. Unless they give me the green signal, I couldn't proceed. So I said, "That is enough, Sydney. For the last few months, you have been doing everything in your power to hurt me. I put up with it because Nigel wanted a relationship with you. I can see that you have not changed at all, even after having your children taken away by court. I'm done with your antics, and I want to press charges for trying to harm us." No, you can't do that. Nigel, just look at how Sage is threatening me. I'm telling you, she just wants to get rid of me. She wants to get me arrested for a minor misunderstanding. Do something to save me, Nigel. Oh, I will do something, Mom. I will do something for all the ways you have harmed me. Sage and Melissa. You have no shame in trying to blame Sage and dismissing Melissa's feelings. It's time we all make you face consequences. Sage, go ahead and call the police. I will press charges as well. And so will I. She ruined my wedding by trying to poison my guests. I will press charges against her too. She could have easily hurt many others by swapping the plates. I will not let this go. Getting the green signal from them, I quickly called the police and informed them about everything. I sent them all the proof and called them over to get our statements. They would be on their way soon. Meanwhile, Sydney was busy trying to beg Nigel and Melissa not to press charges. She didn't have any money and no place to go. She kept crying to them and said, "How can you two get your mom arrested? You can't do this to me. Do you not love me even a little? I'm your mother." "You have never cared about me, Mom. Why should I care about you? All my life you've fixated on Nigel and neglected me. I tried my best to keep a connection with you. You still never loved me. Hell, you even said that you don't care about my wedding." "Mom, we have had enough of your shit. All these months, I gave you a chance because I genuinely thought you have changed. I was wrong. I feel horrible for putting Sage through your toxic ways. We have had enough. You need to move out immediately. I will give you eviction papers. And don't even think about me bailing you out of jail." No, please don't abandon me. You cannot choose your wife over me. I'm your mom, and I'm more important. We can talk and make this right. Don't send me to jail. Don't kick me out, please. Melissa, please talk to your brother and make him understand. This shameless woman was still begging Nigel for forgiveness. Never once did she apologize to any of us. She just didn't want to lose her relationship with Nigel. It was horrible. Melissa was crying a lot while her husband held her. Nigel simply held my hand and refused to look at his mom. I called the nurse and told her to call hospital security to keep Sydney until the police arrived. Security came and dragged her away from the room, kicking and screaming. Later, the police came and took our statements. They also arrested Sydney for endangerment and trying to poison us. After Sydney was taken away, I called up my lawyer to tell him to prepare eviction papers. Later, I stayed back at the hospital with Nigel and we encouraged Melissa to go back to her reception. She was hesitant, but we assured her that we were fine. She left with her husband and returned. I stayed back with Nigel and we talked about all our misunderstandings in the past. I have forgiven him for not taking my feelings seriously. He was in a vulnerable position and I could understand his reactions, but Nigel promised that she will never be in our lives again. True to his words, Nigel evicted Sydney, didn't bail her out, and pressed charges against her. Me, Nigel, and Melissa also took out restraining orders against her for the shit she pulled. Her case went to court and she is looking at a prison sentence. With her previous record of child neglect, we are pretty sure the judge will put her in jail. Plus, she will be paying for all our medical bills and lawyers' fees. Not sure how she'll do that, but we will see. As for us, we're currently happy being away from Sydney. All the extended family members who asked us to take in Sydney were not apologetic. Even they promised to cut contact with her and never go near her again. Melissa and Nigel had to go back to therapy because of what Sydney did. It had brought them back bad memories and they realized that they needed help again. There has been some progress and we are holding on to each other for support. I'm happy to announce that I am pregnant and we are expecting a girl. I hope you will pray for us and specifically ask God to keep Sydney away from us. When I was 10 years old, my family moved to the US from Ethiopia, and it was a whole new world for me. I loved everything about America, the opportunities, the culture, and the people. My dad was a successful businessman, so we lived a comfortable life, which made the transition even smoother. In high school, I met Xander, the guy who would eventually become my husband. We had a bit of an on-again, off-again relationship throughout those years. But when I turned 20, we decided to fully commit to each other and get married. I was over the moon with excitement, envisioning a future filled with love and happiness. However, there was one major hurdle: Xander's mother, Olive. She was not thrilled about our wedding plans. I couldn't help but suspect that her disapproval had something to do with my Ethiopian heritage. There were instances of microaggressions, those subtle comments and actions that left me feeling uneasy and unwelcome. But Xander was different. He didn't care about his mother's opinions. He loved me for who I was, not where I came from. Despite the tension with Olive, he stood by my side and made it clear that he was marrying me regardless of his mother's objections. Our wedding day was a mix of emotions. On one hand, I was thrilled to be marrying the man of my dreams, but on the other, I couldn't shake the feeling that Olive's disapproval was lingering in the background. I tried my best to focus on the love between Xander and me, pushing away any negative thoughts. In the days that followed, Olive's disapproval became more apparent. She made snide remarks about my culture and heritage, and it hurt. I wanted to have a good relationship with my mother-in-law, but it seemed like an impossible task. Xander tried to mediate, but it wasn't easy. He loved his mother, but he also loved me, and he didn't want to be caught in the middle. He assured me that he would talk to his mom, but things remained tense. As the months passed, Olive's microaggressions continued. She would make backhanded compliments, ask invasive questions about my background, and overall make me feel like an outsider in my own family. It took a toll on my mental and emotional well-being. Despite the challenges, Xander and I tried to build a life together. We got a place of our own and focused on our careers and plans. But Olive's disapproval and microaggression still lingered, casting a shadow over our happiness. So one day, Olive's comments reached a boiling point, and I couldn't take it anymore. I had always tried to maintain my composure and be kind, but her hurtful words had finally pushed me over the edge. I shouted at her, something I had never done before. I let her know that I was tired of her microaggressions and how unwelcome she made me feel. It was a moment of release, and I didn't hold back. You know, Olive, I've had enough of your constant comments. It's getting really old. Oh, I'm just stating my opinion. No need to get so defensive. Opinion? It feels more like you're constantly picking on me because of where I come from. I deserve respect just like anyone else. I don't mean to offend you, but you're so sensitive about everything. It's not about sensitivity, it's about respect. I'm your daughter-in-law, and I deserve to be treated with kindness and understanding. Well, maybe if you tried to fit in a little more, I wouldn't have to say anything. Fit in? I've been living here for years. This is my home too, and I don't have to change who I am to please you. You know, I didn't ask for you to marry my son. I didn't want you to marry my son. I had different plans for him. And that's not fair. We love each other, and that should be all that matters to you. Maybe if you were from a more traditional background, I'd be more accepting. You know what? I don't need your acceptance. I'm proud of my heritage, and I won't let you make me feel bad about it. Your ignorance is not my problem. Well, maybe if you had married someone from your own culture, things would be easier. That is not the point. We're married, and you need to accept that. Your constant disapproval is hurting us, and I won't let you ruin our happiness. I never thought you'd speak to me like this. Why are you being so aggressive? Maybe you never thought I'd stand up for myself, but I won't let anyone, not even you, tear me down. I'm done trying to please you. Fine. If that's how you feel, maybe we should just keep our distance. That's fine by me. I deserve to be surrounded by people who love and respect me for who I am. You're being so unreasonable. No, I'm just tired of being treated poorly. I'm your family now, and it's time you started treating me like it. If you can't do that, then maybe it's best if we keep our distance. Suit yourself. I will, thank you, and I hope you take some time to reflect on your behavior and how it's affecting your relationship with your son. I'm going to go now. Maybe when you're ready to treat me with respect, we can talk again. Until then, take care. After that, I left the room, feeling a mix of anger and sadness. It was hard to confront Olive like that, but I knew I had to stand up for myself. I knew my relationship with her was strained from that point on, perhaps beyond repair. But I knew I had made the right decision. I deserved to be treated with respect, and I wasn't going to tolerate any more microaggressions or hurtful comments. My focus was on my marriage and building a happy life with Xander, regardless of Olive's disapproval. When I told Xander about the altercation, he surprised me by taking my side. He supported me and told his mom that she needed to treat me with respect. But then, things took an even more dramatic turn. Olive said that if that's how her son felt, she'd disown him too. It was a shock to Xander, and I could see the hurt in his eyes. His mother wanted to disown him because he stood up for his wife. It was heartbreaking to witness, but at the same time, it made us both realize something important. We didn't need toxic people in our lives, even if they were family. We deserved love and respect, and if someone couldn't provide that, then they didn't deserve a place in our hearts. As much as it hurt to see Olive act this way, it was a wake-up call for Xander. He quickly realized that his mother's disapproval and negativity were holding him back from being truly happy. It was time for him to break free from the toxicity and create a life with me that was built on love and understanding. Months had passed since Olive cut us out of her life, and Xander was still deeply affected by his mother's decision. He missed her, despite all the hurtful things she had said and done. I wanted to help him find closure and maybe even a chance to reconcile, so I planned a dinner date at Xander's favorite restaurant. When we arrived at the restaurant and I gave my name, the maitre d' at the front desk puzzled and said my name was blacklisted. I was taken aback since we had been regular customers there. I asked to speak with the manager, hoping to sort out the confusion. To my surprise, The manager turned out to be Olive herself. During all those months of silence, turns out she had been busy acquiring more assets, and that included becoming a manager at this restaurant. Chili's, me and Xander's favorite place. And she knew that. Coincidence? I think not. Seeing her there, I couldn't help but feel a mix of shock and disbelief. How petty could she be? Well, what do we have here? I never thought I'd see the day when you two would show up at my restaurant. Olive didn't hesitate to tell us that we were not welcome at her restaurant. Xander couldn't contain his emotions and started shouting at his mother, causing a scene in the restaurant. I was torn between wanting to support Xander and trying to keep the situation from escalating further. Olive, we didn't come here to cause trouble. We just wanted to have a peaceful dinner. Peaceful dinner? With the likes of you? I don't think so. You know, it's quite amusing to see you both standing there begging to be let in after what you did. What are you talking about, Mom? We've always loved this place, and now you're telling us we're not welcome? Oh, it's quite simple. You see, when you decided to marry this person against my wishes, I had to make a choice. I couldn't have my son making such a terrible mistake, so I made sure to protect my business from your poor choices. You're so sick. It's disgusting. You're doing this on purpose, aren't you? You blacklisted us from your restaurant just to spite us. Oh, please, Xander. I'm just looking out for my reputation. I can't have people like you associating with my business. This is ridiculous, Mom. You're choosing your bigotry over your son. I thought you were better than this. You're the only one who made this choice, Xander. Don't blame me for your mistakes. At this point, practically everyone in the restaurant was looking at us. It was embarrassing to be thrown out of Chili's. Xander, it's not worth fighting with her. Let's go. You're right, Amara. She's not worth it. Yeah, go on. Get out of here. Nobody wants you here. So we left and started walking down the street, just wandering around. Xander was really upset, and I let him vent about how much he loved Chili's. Hey, it's going to be all right. Let it out. Tell me how you're feeling. It's just Chili's, you know? My dad and I used to go there all the time when I was younger. It was like our thing. We'd sit by the window, order our favorite dishes, and just talk about life. It was one of the few places where we could connect, you know? I know, babe. It sounds like such a special memory. I can't believe Olive dared to take that away from you. Yeah, and the worst part is that she knows how much it meant to me. She knows how much my dad meant to me. I can't believe she's doing all of this just because she doesn't like that I married you. It's not fair, Xander. You deserve so much better than this. I wish I could change things for you. I just hate that she's trying to ruin everything for us. I thought the family was supposed to support each other, not tear each other down. I know it's hard to understand why she's acting this way, but sometimes people let their prejudices cloud their judgment. We can't change that, but we can choose how we react to it. You're right. I don't want to waste any more time and energy on her. We have each other, and that's what matters. That's the spirit. We'll get through this together, and hey, I have a surprise that might cheer you up a bit. Oh, what is it? Well, turns out my dad owns the whole complex of buildings on this street, including Chili's. Wait, what? Why didn't you tell me this before? It was a recent business deal he made with some investors, and I wasn't sure how it would all work out. I was going to tell you once we had sat down in the restaurant. Something to celebrate, you know. Amara, that's amazing. I need to pass on the congrats to him. You can do that later, because right now we need to take care of your mom. What do you mean? I mean, my dad can handle this. He's not someone you want to mess with when it comes to business matters. He's going to sort Olive out, and we won't have to worry about her anymore. At that moment, I decided to call my dad and let him know what happened. I put him on speaker so Xander could hear too. I told my dad everything about how Olive treated us at Chili's. Dad wasn't too happy to hear all of this, to say the least. I knew that lady hated you, but kicking you out of the restaurant was low. I'm so sorry I didn't see the documents sooner. You know, I only recently got the title deeds to this complex. I didn't have enough time to check out all of the managers, but now that I know about this, I have to deal with it immediately. He told me not to worry one bit because he was going to sort Olive out and give her a serious earful. He even said, "Give me 30 minutes, and I'll be on my way to personally sort this issue out." Hearing my dad say that made me feel a mix of relief and concern. I knew he could handle it, but I also was hoping things wouldn't get too messy. My dad is not someone you want to mess with, especially when it comes to business matters, and my dad was a firm believer in fairness and compassion when it came to customers. So there we were, Xander and I, waiting nervously for my dad to arrive at Chili's while we hung around the area. We didn't know exactly what he had in mind, but we trusted that he would handle things the right way. Moments later, Dad arrived and we all walked in, following his confident stride, and I could already sense that something big was about to go down. He called out for Olive, loud enough for everyone in the restaurant to hear. I could feel the tension in the air as people turned to see what was happening. Olive stepped out, looking annoyed and probably thinking she could just dismiss my dad as she did with us. But Dad wasn't one to be dismissed so easily. He raised an eyebrow at her and said, "Olive, my dear, it seems you haven't been keeping up with the latest news. Did they forget to tell you about the new owner of the 3rd Blue Street complex?" Olive looked taken aback, clearly not expecting this revelation. "What are you talking about? Who is it?" Dad smiled and revealed. "Well, that would be me. I am the new owner, and I must say, I've been here for less than a week and already I'm hearing awful complaints about your management." Olive's face turned pale as she realized her mistake. I didn't know." Dad chuckled and said, "Well, maybe if you had read your emails or paid attention to what's happening around you, you would have known. But it's too late to apologize now. I was so glad to see Olive get a taste of her own medicine." Xander stepped forward and said firmly, "You had no right to treat us the way you did, especially Amara. We've always known that you've been a hateful person, but when it comes to owning an establishment, the first thing they should have taught you is that no one is discriminated against due to personal matters as a manager. You blatantly disregarded that, and I don't think you're the right fit for this place." "Hakeem, wait. I'm sorry, I didn't know." "Even if you didn't know that he owned the place, you should have put your bigotry aside and served as rightful customers." "Please, let's talk about this in the back." "No need. I'm sure these lovely people would like to know that the racist bigot who was managing Chili's is no longer part of the staff." Everyone began murmuring louder than they already were. Olive looked so embarrassed, and Xander and I were amused with ourselves, getting our justice after being abused for so long by her awful words. My dad kicked her out, threatening to get security to drag her out if she didn't want to cooperate. She was so ashamed she looked like she was about to cry, so she began her walk of shame outside. With Olive walking out, the atmosphere in the restaurant quickly changed. People started clapping and cheering as she walked out in shame, and I couldn't help but feel a sense of relief and satisfaction. Xander and I rushed over to my dad and hugged him tightly, thanking him for stepping in and helping us out. "You're the best, Dad." Dad chuckled and patted both of us on the back. "It was my pleasure, my dear. I couldn't stand seeing you two go through all that stress because of her." He then went to the kitchen to find out who was the next in command to appoint them as the acting manager, considering the drama that just happened. He returned to us and explained that he had some important work-related matters to attend to, as well as the task of formally dismissing Olive and handling the paperwork for the new acting manager. Okay, my work here is done for now. You two enjoy your meal. On the house. As we sat down at a table, I felt a mix of emotions. I was still processing everything that had happened, and I couldn't believe how quickly things had escalated. But I was also incredibly grateful to have my dad by our side, supporting us through it all. Hey there, I'm Cindy, age 36. My life was always a roller coaster ride, but this one ride was worth remembering. So, I work as a teacher in a local primary school in Brookline, Massachusetts. I was a divorcee at the time and was taking a break from everything. My ex-husband was a cop. His life and my life were completely opposite. He had a life full of dangers while I have a weak heart. I prefer red solace over risky adventures. He was a grumpy person, serious, had anger issues, and sometimes a tad bit misogynistic. I remember him having opinions about my work life and how I was neglecting the household, how he should be the one bringing bread to the table and not me. When we divorced, he was very angry. He said that I was a weakling and that I couldn't stand criticisms and the truth. I found that really hard to believe that whatever he said could be deemed honest and correct. After that, my life went back to the usual pace. Went to school every day, taught kids, came home, made dinner. It was becoming a little monotonous. It is not that I didn't have friends, but I needed some constant companionship. I understand how problematic this can be, even sought therapy to keep it at bay. The lonely heart wouldn't shut up, so when I met Lenny at a local bookshop, my heart fluttered like that of a corny 17-year-old. He was the store owner. He was well fit and very handsome. His hair was a blend of wavy and straight with a little gray area at the sides. I was going in there every Saturday to buy some new books. I am an avid reader, and having Lenny as my crush was a definite plus. He was a sweet guy. He would quietly sit at the corner reading his daily news, and I would sit at one of the solo chairs and try out the books from the fictional section. It was like this every weekend, and I would make it a habit to look for him every time I entered the shop. He also had a son. His name was Kane. He would come to take the place of his father every now and then. He was an energetic kid, made big gestures when people who knew him came to his shop. Kane was always a bit up and going, opposite to what Lenny was. There was a cafe right next to the bookshop. Usually after work, I would enjoy a nice cup of coffee with my favorite book in hand. I would sometimes see Lenny come and sit at the little table next to the window. There were times when we locked eyes and he would smile sweetly. The smile used to make my heart flutter. I would smile back. Hey, so are you from around here? Well, I live a few blocks away from here. I'm a primary teacher. And you are the bookshop owner? You noticed, right? You are a regular customer in our little store. There are always plenty of people coming in, but you are very distinguishable from all of them. Ah, yes, I love books a lot, and this is the only bookstore that keeps the collection of books that I like. So I try to make some time to stop by. Yes, we are a bit old-schooled, and many people love to come here because they get some old collections that are not sold anymore. Oh, am I so rude? My name's Lenny. And I'm Cindy. He came from his table to mine, and we started a jolly conversation. He is funny and a free-spirited person. He spoke about his childhood, politics, education. We were having a gala time when suddenly Kane, his son, came inside the cafe with a package. At first, he didn't notice me, but when he did, he seemed a bit annoyed. Here, Dad, Uncle sent you the thing that you wanted, the set of drivers. We can fix those rotten doors now. Who's this? Let me introduce you to Cindy. She is our regular. We were just chatting up. Well, you do remember that we have a family dinner tonight, right? Of course, how could I forget that? It'll be around 8. Yes, and please be on time. I felt like it was natural for someone to feel protective about their parents. I wasn't blessed with children, which was more or less God's will. I feel like the divorce would have affected my children a lot, and a father like that wouldn't have been a good example. That night, I called my parents and spoke to them. They live in Florida, and sometimes in situations like these, I miss them. I remember excitedly telling them about how I found Lenny and how much of a good guy he is. My mother was always a supportive woman. She kept asking me if now it was the right time for me to find a trusty companion. I was being very hesitant about it. I knew if I became impulsive here, this would probably be a horrible decision. The next day, I remember going to the bookshop a bit earlier than usual. I couldn't help but notice how decked up I was. Maybe I did it unconsciously, maybe for Lenny. My heart skipped just thinking about it. How can I help you? Oh, I was just here to return some of the books I borrowed. Is Lenny here? Father isn't here. Do you need anything else? Oh, I just wanted to drop by and say hi. So here are the books. Thank you. Are these all? Yes, that's all. If you ever see your father, can you please tell him that, no, I'm sorry, I cannot do that. My father is going through a rough patch and he doesn't need any of these. I don't know what your intentions are, but I would prefer if you didn't meddle into our family affairs. I just felt nice talking to him, that's all. I'm sorry. Please do visit again. I felt thoroughly embarrassed. I know I probably looked very desperate and I should stop. This is true. I am meddling in family matters and this would cause much trouble. It was late at night when I received a missed call on my phone. I don't pick up unknown numbers, but I felt something about this one. The call went on voicemail and instantly I recognized that voice. It was Lenny. But how did he have my number? I didn't share any of my details with him. Well, I didn't think much of it and I fell asleep. The next day, I got another call from the same number. I excused myself from the class and called back. Hi, am I speaking to Cindy? Lenny, right. Yes, I am. How did you get my number? It's funny how we stop thinking about our age and do things as if we were still in high school or something. I got your number from the record list. When we first took your name, we asked for your number, remember? Oh, I see. Oh, I'm so sorry. I can keep the call if you want. I know this was very inappropriate. We take numbers so that we can remind the readers whenever a new stock has arrived, and we are very protective about the numbers. But I wanted to contact you. I'm happy that you called. I went to the shop the other day looking for you, and your son told me you weren't there. My son hasn't mentioned me anything, so it explains he doesn't want to. I understand. It is not a good thing for them to see their father move on with a stranger. They know nothing about me. They just enjoy seeing me sulk around in the shop and not meet anyone. They're just children. They wouldn't understand any of this. So, are you going through a rough patch, your wife? She was never a good mother. She left after I had my second child. She told me on my face that motherhood wasn't a fit for her and gaslighted me, saying that I manipulated her into all this. She left long back. I'm so sorry. Does she... The doorbell rang. Oh dear, I have to go. I don't have much time left before the next class. Can I speak to you later? Hey, before you go, I just want to tell if you will be able to make it for a small dinner at my place. My son won't mind. I'll talk to him. I will let you know, all right? I was invited for a small dinner and I was nervous. I didn't know what they would feel in my presence. But I felt like I was doing nothing wrong. He invited me. He wanted me to come, but his son would not approve of it, I know. But all I can do is try. The dinner could have gone worse, to be honest, but somehow Lenny did his best to manage. We were talking and laughing about our childhood. He even cooked us some steak and mashed potatoes with some red wine to wash it all down. He was such a sweetheart. It made me feel bad for all the things he was going through. His wife, Michelle, and he were married young, and they were these badass bikers swerving through the lanes and traveling through the country. They were those delinquent sweethearts people read in books about. They got married in some local church as they eloped. Later on, Michelle got pregnant, and that's when things went downhill. It was a difficult thing to accept, being left behind by the person you sacrificed your family for. I reached out to hold his hand when Cain stormed into the room looking furious. "Dad, again, how many times have I told you not to bring random strangers at home? And what is this? It's her." "Cain, dear, I was just talking to your father. We're just having dinner, please." "You keep quiet. You're trying to mooch off my father behind my back." "Enough, Cain. How dare you? You have crossed your line. Can you please not let your father have a bit of peace? And what are you on about, multiple people? I had friends and their wives come over. When did I ever bring someone I like?" "Really? Do you want to end up like how you and Mom did again? She will leave you too. Look at her. She's younger as well." "I said enough. Now go to your room. I was just having a nice dinner, and you are always coming out of your way to ruin things. You and your sister are enough of my responsibilities. Give me a break. I will never approve of this. She will never be our mother." After Cain stormed upstairs, we both sat there silently, contemplating what just happened. I was shaking from inside when Lenny reached out and held my hand. He was looking sad and humiliated. I kept blaming myself inside my head. I knew what we did was not seen fairly by most of the children these days. I held his hand tightly and sat quietly. I didn't know what else to say. "I'm sorry for what you had to witness. He can be stubborn sometimes, but he will come around, don't worry. I don't want to convince them to trust. I want to earn it, and this won't be that simple. We are heartbroken people seeking companionship. That concept is lost in children these days. They think we always have bad intentions, but we just want peace. So do you want to stay a bit longer, or do you want me to drop you?" "I think right now it wouldn't be a good idea to stay. They're already really angry, so I think I should leave, and no, you don't have to drop me." "Well, at least let me escort you to the door." "Okay, Lenny." After a few months of exchanging small conversations and spending time, we thought we could tie the knot. A very simple event, nothing too extravagant, just a few friends, my parents, and that's it. Sadly, Cain was not present. He and his fiancée were out on a trip before they tied the knot. I was trying to not feel too bad at these things. I know they're children and they're not able to empathize with us because they're swayed by strong emotions. Lenny was such a darling. He was really a different man than what I experienced with my ex. He was much calmer and politer. He was helping around, talking to guests and smiling radiantly. Angela was our event manager. She was one of my colleague's sisters. She made this humble arrangement in such a short period. "You did a fantastic job. Thank you so much, dear." "I'm more than happy to have helped. You are an adorable couple, and seeing love blossoming in hard times gives me hope." "I heard that you were also going to arrange Cain's event. He will get married in 2 months. "Yes, Lenny spoke to me about everything and gave me the list of things that he needed me to do, like, the number of guests, food, drinks, etc. "I hope it is a success for you, Angela. Hoping to stay in touch." "Me too, Cindy." The event went rather smoothly. At the end of the day, Lenny and I managed to sit quietly and take a shot of wine together. We seemed content, but still troubled. Lenny told me the other day that Michelle had gotten news of his marriage and had planned to pay a short visit. I knew that this day would be coming, so I didn't stop him. I wanted things to come to terms. And I wanted to meet whoever this Michelle was. Kane said he wouldn't be back too soon. They went to Brazil and they were having much more fun. Lenny was really sad. He wanted his son to understand the situation. He was always sighing and sometimes even sitting alone on the porch, staring into space. I did not like bothering him much. I knew he needed some time off. On the other hand, Kane and his fiancée came back from their little trip. They bought souvenirs for everyone except me. I was not surprised, and it's all right. I wanted Lenny and Kane to at least talk about this, like a father-son time. With time, things changed. They spent hours arguing over things that were stupid and trivial, and sometimes Kane would storm out of the house in the middle of the night. Sometimes he'd even come back 2 days later. After a month and a half, our doorbell rang. I was at home that day. I took a day off. I reached out for the door and felt a tingling sensation down my spine. I knew why. I opened the door and looked straight into Michelle's eyes. My heart completely stopped. There she was, standing with her worn-out jacket and ripped jeans. I have seen her pictures, so I knew what she would look like. I wasn't able to move a muscle until she spoke first. "Oh, so you are his new lady. Bad choice." She stormed inside the room like it was hers and sat on the sofa lavishly. She put her legs up on her table, crossed, and looked at me while chewing gum. I was slightly annoyed by this gesture, but I took a deep breath and relaxed my nerves. "Do you want some tea, coffee, wine?" "Wine. Fetch it in a tall glass." "Sure." My hands were trembling. I didn't know how things would be when Lenny came back. He would be in shock. I mean, this was so unexpected. I glanced back to see she was surfing through the magazines that were lying on the table scattered. "So, what is it about you that he likes so much? It's not like you are that pretty." "I don't know. You can ask him. We just seek companionship. I just want him to be happy." "So, are you trying to tell me that I didn't keep him happy?" "I'm not suggesting anything. I'm stating that's all." I don't know what went wrong, but Michelle abruptly stood up and threw the wine glass, aiming at the bookshelf right behind me. I was stone cold. She was laughing hysterically and looked like a freaking maniac. What on earth? This woman was Lenny's wife. I can't even believe it. She looked like a total psycho. "Whoops! Was that expensive? Sorry." "Look, bimbo, whether you both are married or not, I don't care. He's still mine and will always be mine. You are just a replacement. My children have not even accepted you yet. You can never be their mother. I have their birthright." Before I could say anything, she left the house with a loud bang. Wow, quite a character. Lenny was too soft for her. He deserved better. I promised myself I would protect Lenny at all costs. When Lenny came back home, I was too stunned to speak. I thought it wouldn't be the right time. At dinner, we all sat down together. Kane began to grumble. "My mom doesn't want Cindy to be at my wedding, Dad. And please, I don't want any trouble during my wedding. I want no nonsense. Cindy, you are not coming. Are we clear?" "Yes, dear, I understand." "What, yes? Why are you agreeing to this nonsense? She was their mother, but she doesn't deserve that right. Kane, quickly eat your damn food. We are not having this discussion." I had to hold Lenny's hand. I had something in my mind. Lenny eyed me and he probably caught something, so he carried on with his food silently. "At least Cindy understands better than you, LOL. Keep her away, do you get me? She is not my biological mother. We both ate quietly that night. That night, I made a call to Angela. I told her that I would love to meet her tomorrow. She gave me a time around the afternoon. I wanted harmless revenge for all the scenes Michelle did to me the other day. And maybe to Kane as well for being so stubborn. So, how can I help you? Can you please do me a favor? I know it's stupid, but I want it. Yes. So, are the invitations already sent and the date fixed? All is done, just the catering is left. I have to call them again. I kind of want you to change the date of the wedding. Like, all the guests, Kane, his fiancée, and his biological mother should be unaware of this. I want them to think that the wedding is taking place on the right date, but it actually won't happen. Postpone it to 1 week. I see. You must have your reasons. I respect that. And it is very much possible. A guestless wedding sounds interesting. The deed was done. The date was shifted and fresh invitations were sent to all the guests with a new date and an apology note. Lenny, on the other hand, did a fantastic job addressing all these guests individually, explaining the situation and convincing them to play along with it. This was a tedious task, but so worth it. We all knew how important the wedding was to Kane and his mom. I didn't want her to have the satisfaction. The fit he threw on the day was worth recording. He was so shocked and dumbfounded to see how nobody came. The fact he called his friends and none of them picked up, he must have been so confused. He paced around, agitated. His fiancée was lost, like him, and his mother threw a fit as well. Once they left the venue, she went directly to our home. Lenny was at home watching TV as nothing happened. You never deserved to be the mother. You are a pathetic woman. I should be calling the cops on you for whatever you attempted on my wife. So I don't want you prying on my family anymore. Do you get me, woman? You are the problem. You are a manipulative person. I hate you. Why the hell do you love her, huh? I don't know for how long the quarrel would have continued, but at least Lenny was able to give a piece of his mind and was able to let out years of frustration. Now, we are slowly trying to get adjusted to the new things. The wedding was postponed, but at least Kane calmed down his angry boy demeanor. He was finally learning the course of events and how being hot-headed doesn't help. Michelle left with a heavy heart. She won't be welcome here ever again, and I am finally happy with the man I love. And I just hope it stays like this forever.